finally did it. I went on eBay and pulled the trigger on one of my Grail games. Now, it's not expensive, it's not rare. However, it's hard to find here in Europe and the prices can go up if you want to buy it over here. It's part of one of my favorite JRPG series, and that is Grandia III. This has been missing in my collection. Grandia II is one of my favorite games of all time. Grandia I really like as well. Late last year I got Grandia XTREME, and even though I enjoyed that one, it's a bit of a different thing, and the difficulty spike is really gigantic in this one. It's really one for experts, yeah? Grandia III was the last part of the series, and I just got this out, and the condition seems to be pretty fine. The case is not too scratched up, which is important for this one, because it's a 2-disc game. You cannot simply swap the case with something else. There's only a limited number of games where you get a PlayStation 2 with the memory card case and the little sleeve here for the additional disc. I think there are 2 single layer discs, so they're not double layer, but we'll find that out later. The manual is in fantastic condition. It's even in color. So you see right here, color. We would not have gotten this in Europe if it had released over here. It would have been like 50 languages, black and white. Now this is not, it's not a phenomenal manual. It's not thick, like it's just boring blue background, few clouds, a few feathers in the background, so nothing to write home about. But it's one of the games that came out after Square Enix took over Game Arts and the Grandia series as a publisher. So Sega basically, or Ubisoft over here in Europe actually, Ubisoft brought out Grandia 1 and I think even Grandia 2 on the Dreamcast over here. Discs seem to be in good condition. We never got this one. We never got Grandia XTREME either. So getting these games in Europe is a bit of a hassle. You have to either find someone within the European Union selling it to you, or you order it from the US, pay extreme shipping costs, and if you're unlucky, even pay customs on top of that. For me, for some reason, it was no problem. Sometimes it gets held up by customs. You have to pay extra, like bonus shipping, all of that. It was pretty good with this one. What I do when I get a game like this, I go to the computer and rip the discs to find out if they actually work. So let's do that right now. Let's just slide the game disc in. On Windows, I used to use a program called Image Burn to create an ISO from a game. On the Mac, there is no image burn. For the Mac, you can use disk utility. It should pop open here as an external storage medium, and then we can create an ISO from there. All right, there it is. We can right-click it, image from this medium, and then call it Grandia Disk 3. Save it as a DVD CD master, and it should create an ISO of the game. While the computer is busy ripping the discs, let's collect the rest of the Grandia collection. Over here in the PlayStation 1 section we have Grandia. In the Dreamcast section we have Grandia 2, both of them are the US versions. And over here in the PlayStation 2 collection we have Grandia XTREME, the dungeon crawler spin-off. The Grandia series has always been pretty special to me. It was one of the first games I got into after entering the whole retro gaming scene. I think I first heard about it from a comment. I used to have a German Let's Play channel back then, and one of my commenters wanted me to do Grandia 2. Well, I never got around to it because I wanted to play Grandia 1 first. So I didn't go there, but I watched the Happy Console Gamer video back then. A friend of mine is a big fan of Grandia as well, so the series has always been there for me in my retro gaming career, basically. It's one of the first games language heavy games that I fully played in English back then. So I got the Dreamcast version because with the Dreamcast I entered the retro gaming scene, and I played this because it was one of the big recommendations back then. It still is one one of the best Dreamcast games. Like, not a lot has changed in the last 15 years about that one. I highly recommend this one. It's a short RPG. You can finish it in under 30 hours for a straight normal playthrough. It's short, it's great, and it was my introduction point to Grandia as a series. Later on I got the EU version of Grandia 1, which I then got rid of, upgraded my copies, and finally I settled with the US version of Grandia 1. Now, having played this after Grandia 2, I thought, the battle system, the combat system was very different. I prefer the Grandia 2 one for a straight playthrough. However, I have to admit, the gameplay in Grandia 3, in Grandia 1 here, is more complex in many ways. You can level a lot more skills, level a lot of magic, and it allows for more variety in the characters, I would say. I still prefer the graphics in this one. Grandia 1, these 2D graphics on 3D backgrounds, like, it's one of my weak spots I have. You put 2D pixelated characters in a 3D world, games like Grandia here, games like many RPGs back then. Also, Klonoa was a big offender, let's say, of this trend, and I love it. Grandia 1, now, unlike Grandia 2, which is a nice, slimmed down 30-hour RPG, Grandia 1 is gigantic, very long. You easily have to spend 50 plus hours on one straight playthrough. I beat this game again a few years ago, and I really like this. The performance issues are very bad in the PlayStation version. I've heard the Saturn original is a lot better in that regard. However, there is an HD remake of this now which runs a lot smoother, so maybe check out that one if you want to get into the series nowadays. This is a game I got into late last year when I finally bought a copy, Grandia XTREME. I always wanted to try this because I love dungeon crawlers. Like, give me a dungeon to go into, I don't need a story. So Grandia XTREME is a dungeon crawler. It only has one bigger city and many smaller dungeons around it. Sadly, it does neither the dungeon crawling nor the story part that well. I thought after playing Grandia 1 and Grandia 2 that there's so much potential in the battle system that can be brought out, but not really within the story. There's no boss demanding you to master this level system and the battle system. I thought a dungeon crawler would be perfect for this. The pieces just didn't come together, and the difficulty spike is very high. You can easily go through a dungeon without any problems and then hit a brick wall with a boss that you just cannot defeat. There's no real way to level up to power level, no real way to upgrade your weapons. So I was just stuck on this one boss that apparently has been a brick wall for many players of this game. So the difficulty is extreme. Maybe there are ways to exploit the battle system. Maybe there are ways to exploit the level system. I need to get into this a bit more. I want to love this game. It should have everything I want. It's Grandia, it's a dungeon crawler. Pieces just didn't come together for me. And now, finally, Grandia 3. I've heard very mixed things about this. I've heard the battle system is actually the best in the series, so I'm excited for this. However, the story, characters, you can even see it in the back here, they're very Final Fantasy. This was published by Square Enix and it shows, I think, from what I've seen, but I'm excited to get into this. I've heard, it's worth it for the battle system alone, even if the story is not as captivating as the original two games. So let's check out some gameplay of this one. Before we get into some gameplay, I've now successfully ripped both discs. I can confirm they're over 8.5 gigabytes in size. That means there are two single layer discs, no dual layer going on. So now that I have the files, the discs can slumber in their case for eternity. Well, this now will copy forever. I use a very old and very slow USB drive. It just takes a while to copy 8.5 gigabytes. I need to buy a faster one. This really sucks. I hate copying stuff to my PS2. Square Enix. That's an unusual sight on a Grandia game, even though Extreme was also published by Square Enix. Here we have game arts. I don't even want to show you too much gameplay here. I tried this out earlier. Very unexpected intro movie, and for some reason it skips right there. I don't know if it's because of the SMB loading I have going on here. As you know, in Europe, booting US versions of games always a hassle, always a problem. So I use FreeMac Boot with Open PlayStation Loader to boot these on my PAL system. For the most part, it works just fine. Sometimes you get little glitches. I don't know if that cutscene skip is something that is known or that is happening on US systems. But hey, with just the intro movie, let's start the game. Let's see how it starts. I just want to give you a few minutes of an introduction. I've never played this game before. I don't even know what it's about. I've not watched any gameplay on this, I think, except for like little bits and pieces every now and then as part of reviews or serious retrospectives. It seems to be some, I don't know, Miyazaki inspired thing. He loves airplanes and so on, crashing. All right. Gives me a few Xenoblades vibes at the moment for some reason. The art style really is off compared to the first two Grandia games. I'm not a gigantic fan of that face. But hey, I don't want to be pessimistic. This could be a fantastic game. And just, I've heard some mixed things on it. But it's the final game in the Grandia series. Maybe for a good reason, maybe not. I have yet to play it. If you want to see more of this game, let me know in the comments if you want to hear my opinion about it. I don't think I'll get around to playing it too much right away. But maybe within the next year or so. I want to finish the Grandia series, but maybe I'll go back to Grandia Extreme first. Now this video finishes my Grandia collection. This is, now I have, in my opinion, complete Grandia set. I have the first two games in their original releases. There's an HD remake port on Switch and so on for the first two games. Grandia Extreme and Grandia 3 have not been released. Now, am I hunting for the original release of Grandia, like the Japanese Saturn version? Maybe, maybe not. What's on my list, possibly, is a copy of Grandia Parallel Trippers for the Game Boy Color, which is a spin-off of Grandia 1 for the Game Boy Color. I played it, it has a fan translation. I couldn't get into it too much, so maybe I'll get a copy when I feel like it. Something I'm interested in is the Grandia Museum for the Saturn, which is a bonus disc for the original Grandia, with bonus dungeons and so on. Now I don't have a Saturn, so it would really be just for the collection. I'll see. So technically my Grandia collection is unfinished, but for me right now I have the series, I have the original releases. I'm happy with that. Anyway, let's look at this cutscene right here. An eagle going on some American setting or so on. This looks really Miyazaki inspired. The music is spot on. If that isn't a track from the original two Grandia games, at least I really captured that spirit for the third game. I don't know if you can hear it through the camera, but that background music really hit the spot. Grandia always had fantastic music. This game doesn't seem to be any exception to that. So what do you think? Is my Grandia collection complete, or should I get the final two games in the series? Give me your opinion. Would you consider it complete if it looked like mine? I also don't have a copy of Grandia Online because that was an online game. I think there were even 2 different Grandia Online games, if I'm not mistaken. But there's no way to get a physical copy of that one. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I see you in the next video. Bye.